life-sustaining, reviving bowl of chicken soup. And today we're gonna make a Salsa Verde chicken tortilla soup that has crunchy, delicious baked tortilla strips with like a Salsa Verde that you put on top with this rich elixir of chicken broth underneath. Lots of shredded chicken, so it is still filling, but it's just the perfect cozy bowl to get you through, the last couple months of winter. So as you maybe can hear, I am recovering from a bit of a cold, and this was exactly what I was craving, and I wasn't feeling well enough to make it until today. So today, I am making this delicious soup, and I am gonna put a little heat in it because I find that extra boost of spice and spiciness, gets everything flowing, heats your body up, helps it get its mojo back. But my kids also love this soup, and when I make it for them, I just leave like the jalapenos and things out. So that's what you can do if you don't like a little bit of spice. But if you do, it's very nice. So let's make my Salsa Verde chicken tortilla soup. First things first, we're gonna clear all of our produce to the side because we're gonna break down a chicken. We're breaking the chicken down mainly so that I can brown off pieces that are small enough in my pan before I start the sort of process of building the soup. And what that browning experience does is give us even more developed roasted flavor. You could definitely roast the chicken first whole and then break it down and then do the soup thing or cook it whole in the soup, but this is going to speed the process along, and you get to manhandle a chicken. And don't be afraid, by the way. It's not going to go perfectly the first time. You're just going to keep working your way through it, and it doesn't really matter. You're just trying to break it off into more usable sizes. So the first thing I did was take off any little extra bit of skin. The next thing I'm going to do is remove the wishbone, which is here where the breast tissue connects. I'm just gonna make 2 little slits to help me pop it out. You can feel them right here, like 1 to 2, the little arch here. And I'm just gonna make 2 little slits to give me better access to the wishbone. And yes, that is the thing that you make a wish on. And if as you're pulling it out, it breaks, you can go ahead and make that wish all on your own. Oh, see, mine totally broke. That's okay. Pulling out this bone and pulling out the second half. And that's just gonna help us divide the breast evenly. And there we go. And just feel around if you left any little piece in there, which I did here. This is what I'm talking about. Not super critical that you do this all that precisely. It really is just a breakdown. And if I need to go back in with my knife, I can, just to pop that last little connective piece. So the next thing we're gonna do is get the legs off of this body. There is this connected skin here between the leg and the breast, and I kind of wanna leave that skin attached to the breast meat so that it will coat the breast meat. That's especially important if you were gonna roast these off to actually make it for dinner. Less important since they'll all be cooked together in the soup. But then working that skin along until I see the entire leg revealed, which I do here. Now, here we have our drumstick, here we have our leg. What we're gonna try to do is pop the leg joint so that it reveals the easiest place for us to cut around. That is the leg joint right there. That means it creates a nice little gap here between the body of the bird and the leg for us to cut through without having to cut through actual bone. And all I'm gonna do is work my knife around the leg and through that connective tissue, trying to preserve my oyster, which is this beautiful, extra succulent, delicious piece of chicken that you definitely want to hold on to. And you can see, like, literally the joint socket is right here, and I'm just cutting easily through. No sawing through bone, no nothing. Gorgeous, gorgeous leg of chicken. Guys, I'm showing you this process because I love to give you the confidence to know you could do this if you so choose. You can also definitely buy broken down chicken. There's no problem with that. You will not have access to the full carcass like we're asking for today, but you will still get a very delicious fortified chicken broth, and it will taste delicious. And sometimes you just don't have the wherewithal to go through all these steps for that, little additional boost of flavor. And we are looking to preserve the skin for now because we do want that to lend as much delicious flavor as it can to our stock. Next thing we're gonna do is similarly just work to kind of, again, pop these wings out that we have here. And you should be able to feel where the bone connects here, which is, again, gonna be the easiest place for us to cut through. Just sort of work your knife around until you find that lovely little connective juncture, and then you will never have to cut through bone. See, just pops right out of the socket, and then you just slice down through that little bit of connective meat here. Perfect wing. On this side, same thing. And again, this is honestly something that is very hard to learn by watching. You kind of just need to get in there, try it a couple times, and be unafraid. Last but not least will be to remove the breast. I am going to just cut off the backbone here. I'm just standing the carcass upright and then working through, severing out any of these pieces here. And these are very soft, sort of delicate bones, so they're much easier to cut through. Pull that away. But we are definitely not going to discard this piece. This is critical for that really fortified, delicious broth that we are going for. Extra nourishing, extra flavorful. Okay, so saving our backbone here. Now we are left with just chicken breast. Flipping it over, I'm going to quickly cut through the sternum here. This is the only time when you are actually getting through bone. So be careful and use a firm grip and a firm knife just to break through that piece, and then it should all come together very nicely. Quick couple cuts, and you have a beautifully broken down chicken. 2 breasts, leg and drumsticks, wings. Let's brown. I have a heavy bottomed pan here. I'm using a enamel cast iron. I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil to the base of my pan, like a tablespoon or two, a genuine, not a Daphne tablespoon or two, a genuine tablespoon or two, because I am gonna be searing skin side down. The chicken fat will render on its own, so you don't need to have too much fattiness going on at the base of this soup. I do want it to still feel very light and fresh, and just tons of flavor, not necessarily tons of additional fat. I'm gonna get that going over a medium-high heat, and while the oil heats up, I'm gonna quickly season our chicken liberally with kosher salt on all sides. I am gonna work in batches depending on just how wide the surface area of your pan. You might not have to. Walking this over to my now hopefully sizzling hot oil. Let's start with the breast. So I'm gonna go skin side down into the pot. Let's see. I'll fit one of our wings, maybe 2 of our wings in here so that I can do thighs and backbone next. And we're not, it doesn't really matter that they're crowding a little bit in here. We're just looking to develop some nice color and start that roasting, flavor building experience. Let's roast some poblanos. Okay, so you have the option to be a little pyro and play with the flame over there if you'd like to do this on an open flame, or you can do it under the broiler. Doing it under the broiler is really nice, especially if you're planning to make a big bulk batch of this. You can kind of set it, and I was about to say forget it, but we all know what happens when I forget the broiler is going on. So don't forget it, but do set it. I've got 2 lovely poblano peppers here. They tend not to be too spicy. These are gonna go under the broiler, probably 8 minutes total. I am just looking for nice charring on all sides. It's really gonna develop this great smoky, rich flavor. Get yourself a food processor if you can. It does definitely make moments like this easier. You'll use it for pie crust, you'll use it for marinades and pestos and all kinds of good things. Let's check on our chicken really quickly. If you don't have a food processor though, definitely still make this recipe. You just are gonna roughly chop the vegetables. It takes a tiny bit longer, but not much. Oh, the smell of golden brown roasting chicken with that rendering chicken fat, always glorious. Don't force it, guys. If you're in here fighting to release the chicken, it means it still needs a little more time to cook. So don't fight. No need. Getting myself a new cutting board. I've wiped down the counter and washed my hands. And let's get a new knife, shall we? Keeping an eye on my bird. I am not looking to cook this chicken fully. I am just trying to brown off the skin, render some of that fat out, and begin the cooking process that will continue as it boils and simmers with the broth. Our wings are done. Our backbone is gonna go in, tons of flavor. Do not skip if you went through the breakdown process. If you didn't go through the chicken breakdown process, go ahead and ask your butcher if they have any leftover chicken carcass, and they'll think you're super cool and very expert and that you must be a great cook to be asking for those pieces, and it will also help you develop great flavor. You know how I was reminded that the peppers were still charred? I can smell it in the air now. Come and see what we've got going on. Beautiful, rich char, obviously, on this top side. I'm gonna flip it and get the same on the underside. A couple more minutes under our broiler. And then we'll have smoky roasted poblano peppers. All right, pulling our legs and our backbone off, and then come and see what's left behind. All that yummy flavor and that little bit of additional fat. We're gonna use that to cook off our vegetables and give them tons of richness. See, they're puckering here on the surface. I wanna have a little bit more even char, and then they'll be ready to come out. One more minute. Okay, poblanos should be ready by now. Oh yes, lovely. What I'm going to do is grab them while they're still piping hot like so, and tuck them into a heat-safe bowl, and then wrap them and let the steam from the heat work to loosen that skin so I can easily peel it away and be left with only succulent, delicious, charred poblano flesh. Okay, just a quick little wrap to seal in that steam, and we can set that to the side and let it do its magic. Should only take a few minutes, but it also gives them time to cool so you can actually handle them. Vegetables. So this is going to start to build the base of that delicious chicken broth. Give it tons of flavor. I am going to use a couple ribs of celery, maybe 3 ribs, look at those, a quick rinse. A red onion, and you can use yellow onion, white onion, whatever. I find a red onion has slightly, almost like a punchier onion flavor, and also a bit of sweetness, which I do really like. It adds a little color too. This recipe, normally I use like 3 or 4 cloves of garlic just to give it a nice little heady taste of garlic going on. But if you are feeling like you want it to be extra restorative and extra medicinal in nature, go for more. Like you could literally use this entire head. And it would obviously be very garlicky, but garlic we know is so good for us and obviously has delicious flavor. So I'm gonna double the quantity of garlic. I'm gonna use maybe, let's say 6 to 8 medium-sized cloves. Perfect. Okay. You don't need to give these too much of a chop. They are gonna go in the food processor, but I like to just give them a little roughen up, you know. Just slam them to release the skins. Even there's just that light smashing, you probably don't need to chop them all that much more. These can go right into the base of our food processor. I just gave my celery a quick rinse just to get rid of any silt on there, and then all you want to do is trim off these sort of dead pieces at the end, and just give yourself nice pieces to be able to add to the base of your food processor, along with all those nice smashed cloves of garlic. I think I must have done 8 total, by the way, just in case you're keeping track. Grabbing a green bell pepper, which is my favorite. No need to chop these precisely. They are all gonna get broken up. Just wanna make it a little easier on the machine and give yourself some slightly smaller pieces like so into our food processor. And now let's grab this red onion and break that down quickly. Give it a quick little peel. Then a really rough chop, just like so, into the machine. And let's blitz these up together. Oh wait, I need the jalapeno to fit in there too. I'll give it a head start, then I'll get the jalapeno in there. If you find like you're getting a little stuck and the pieces at the bottom of the machine are getting too pulverized, we're not looking for a paste here. We're really kind of just looking for a rough chop, which is why you can definitely do this by hand if you don't have a food processor. Just give it a quick little stir, kind of try to push those larger pieces down. I will take advantage of that being open to put our jalapeno in. If you don't like heat so much, you can go ahead and pull out the ribs and seeds, which is really where most of the heat in the jalapeno hides out. I take a spoon and just kind of shave it right along, and out pops your seeds. I kind of like the heat, so I don't mind if a few are left behind. Add these in quickly wash your hands because you will touch the machine and then you will accidentally, unsuspectingly, in like 15 minutes, touch the machine again and not know why your eyes start burning the next time you touch them. The oils of the jalapeno are vicious and stay on that surface for so long. So, quick wash. You don't need to overstuff your machine quite the way that I did. You can work in more reasonable batches. Okay, lovely. So right about this point, I took it a little further than I usually do because I overstuffed this a little more than I usually do. When it is less full, you will be able to get those nice sort of like rough chop experience. Doesn't really matter. It's still going to be perfect in this soup. Getting my chicken fat and that little bit of olive oil back up and running. Veggie mix goes into our hot chicken and olive oil blend. Give that a quick stir. Oh my gosh, the smell that just erupted from this pan, you guys. Phenomenally delicious. Take a nice big pinch of salt. Remember, you did have salt on the chicken, which means that the fat is already pretty flavorful. The chicken is flavorful, so a little less than I would normally do, maybe a half a teaspoon here, just to make sure that those vegetables are getting their own flavor development and color. We want all members of the party contributing. I think we can peel the poblanos because those want to go in here as well. I'm just going to give those a really quick rough chop. The poblanos have had a second to cool off a little bit and steam in that heat so that the skins should just easily slip away from that delicious flesh underneath that is so smoky and charred. You can use a knife like I am here if it's still a little hot to handle, which this one is. You also, by the way, can leave the skin on. If you are a big fan of that like really deep smoky situation, it does add a little bit of that great charred color too. Peeling away these larger pieces of that external sort of burned skin. And then you can easily just sort of roughly chop the peppers. And I am leaving the seeds part of these because I took the seeds out of the jalapeno and I don't want there to be no heat whatsoever. Adding this delicious saucy mix right into the pot with my other veg. Number 2. And I'll leave just a little bit of that extra smoky charred piece. If you want to open it up like so, that makes it really easy just to take any of those seeds away. There really weren't very many in here. Roll it up, give it a quick chop, and into the pot. I'm going to let this continue to cook just until it softens, maybe 2 to 3 more minutes, and then we'll add the chicken pieces back in and continue building this delicious soup. Okay, so the veg are lovely and softened. Back into the bath with all of your golden brown chicken pieces and any juices that have escaped as they've cooled. Sort of nuzzle those into that delicious brothy base. And then to start to add some of that extra brothiness, I am going to add a quart of chicken stock. Homemade is awesome. I was not feeling as ambitious today to do it. And this will drop the heat a little bit, but what I'm going to do is have it over high, bring it up to a boil, then drop this to a simmer and let it cook about 20 minutes just until that chicken is fully cooked. And you can let it continue to simmer longer and longer. You might want to add a little more chicken broth or a little more water. It will just continue to infuse this broth with so much flavor, get richer and richer. But 20 minutes is the minimum, just so you are fully cooked. Give this a quick stir so nothing is settled to the bottom. If you find that you want to add a little water at the start here, it will cook off and evaporate anyway, so don't worry about it. But I like to have everything almost submerged right at the outset. Give this a quick stir.